Right now, somewhere over a battlefield you will never hear about on the news, there is a cargo plane flying in circles. It is powered by 4 turboprop engines. It has propellers. It flies at 300 miles per hour, slower than most commercial airliners. It has the radar signature of a building. It cannot outrun a fighter jet. It cannot outmaneuver a missile. And every adversary on Earth with a functioning air defense system knows exactly where it is the moment it arrives. And it is the single most feared aircraft in the United States military. Not a stealth bomber, not a 5th-generation fighter, a cargo plane, modified with guns. This is the AC-130. And for 60 years, nothing has been able to replace it. The story of the AC-130 begins with an idea so absurd that most military planners rejected it the first time they heard it. Take a transport aircraft, a plane designed to carry cargo and paratroopers. Strap guns to the side of it. Fly it in a continuous banking. Turn over a target. And fire straight down. That is it. That is the concept. A cargo plane flying in circles, shooting things. It sounds ridiculous. It sounded ridiculous in 1967 when the Air Force first tested it over Vietnam. It sounded like something a bored engineer sketched on a napkin during lunch. And then it worked. It worked so well that the enemy gave it a name. The Vietnamese called it the Angel of Death. The Taliban called it something worse. And 60 years later, the United States Air Force is spending billions of dollars to keep building new versions of the exact same idea. A cargo plane, modified with guns, flying in circles. The question is not whether the AC-130 is effective. It is the most effective close air support platform ever built. The question is why. What makes this absurd concept work so well that nothing in 6 decades of military aviation has managed to replace it? The answer starts with geometry. Every fighter jet in the world delivers its weapons the same way. It flies toward the target, releases the weapon, and flies away. The entire engagement lasts seconds. The pilot sees the target for a moment, drops a bomb or fires a missile, and then the aircraft is gone. If the bomb misses, the jet has to circle back, reacquire the target, and make another pass. The AC-130 does something fundamentally different. The aircraft enters what is called a pylon turn, a continuous, banked orbit around a fixed point on the ground. The pilot tilts the aircraft to the left, and every weapon mounted on the left side of the fuselage is now pointed directly at the center of that orbit, the target. As long as the pilot maintains the turn, every gun on the aircraft is aimed at the same spot, continuously. The aircraft does not fly toward the target and leave. It stays, for hours. Think of it as the difference between throwing a punch and holding someone in a chokehold. A fighter jet punches. The AC-130 holds. And the guns it holds are unlike anything else mounted on an aircraft. The AC-130J Ghost Rider, the current production model, carries a 105mm M102 howitzer. That is an artillery cannon. The same kind of weapon normally towed behind a truck and fired from the ground by a crew of soldiers. The Air Force put it inside an airplane. It is the largest gun ever mounted on a fixed-wing aircraft. Each round weighs over 33 pounds. The kill radius is significant enough that a single round can neutralize a hardened position, a vehicle, or a building. Beside the howitzer sits a 30mm GAU-23 Bushmaster cannon. Rate of fire, 200 rounds per minute. Effective against armored vehicles, personnel concentrations, and light structures. And then there are the precision-guided munitions. AGM-176 Griffin missiles launched from common launch tubes through the cargo door. GBU-39 small-diameter bombs carried on wing pylons. Hellfire missiles for pinpoint strikes. A fighter jet carries 2 or 4 bombs and goes home. The AC-130 carries an arsenal and stays overhead until the mission is done or the ammunition runs out. In a single sortie, it can loiter for hours, engaging dozens of targets with a combination of cannons, howitzers, and guided missiles that no other aircraft on Earth can match. But the same thing that makes the AC-130 lethal is also the thing that makes it vulnerable. Because flying in a predictable circle at 300 miles per hour makes you very easy to hit. January 31st, 1991. The Battle of Khafji, the first major ground engagement of the Gulf War. Iraqi forces had crossed the border into Saudi Arabia and were advancing on the coastal city of Khafji. United States Marines were in contact. The fighting was close, chaotic, and happening in the dark. Above the battlefield, two AC-130H Spectre gunships were providing close air support. One of them carried the call sign Spirit 03. As the night wore on and the engagement continued, dawn began to approach. And dawn is the AC-130's greatest enemy. The aircraft was designed to operate at night. Its sensors, infrared cameras, low-light television, laser designators give it a decisive advantage in darkness. But in daylight, the AC-130 becomes something else entirely. A large, slow, propeller-driven aircraft flying in a predictable orbit at medium altitude, visible to every gunner on the ground. The other gunships received the order to withdraw before sunrise. Spirit 03 stayed. The crew stayed because Marines were still in contact, because the ground forces below them needed fire support, because leaving meant that the people they were protecting would be alone. An Iraqi soldier on the ground fired a shoulder-launched Strela surface-to-air missile. The missile struck Spirit 03. The aircraft went down into the Persian Gulf. All 14 crew members were killed. It remains the largest single loss of life for a United States Air Force unit during the entire Gulf War. The loss of Spirit 03 forced the Air Force to confront something it had always known but never fully addressed. The AC-130 is fundamentally vulnerable. It is slow, it is loud, it flies in circles. And the only reason it survives is because it operates under conditions where the enemy cannot effectively shoot back. In Vietnam, 6 AC-130s were shot down by anti-aircraft artillery. The crews flew at night, at low altitude, over some of the most heavily defended supply routes in history. They destroyed thousands of trucks along the Ho Chi Minh Trail, and they paid for it. The AC-130 has never operated successfully in airspace contested by modern surface-to-air missile systems. It cannot. A cargo plane flying in a predictable orbit at 300 miles per hour against an SA-11 or an S-300 does not survive. The physics do not work. And yet, the Air Force keeps building them. Why? Because the wars the United States actually fights are not the ones where the enemy has advanced air defenses. They are the ones where ground forces need someone overhead who will stay, who will watch, and who will put steel on target with precision that a fast-moving jet at 30,000 feet simply cannot match. But the world is changing. And the AC-130 is changing with it. The AC-130J Ghost Rider is not the same aircraft that flew over Vietnam. It is not even the same aircraft that was lost at Khafji. It is something the Air Force has never tried before. A gunship that does not need to fly in circles to kill. The core transformation is range. In 2025, the Air Force designated a new weapon for the Ghost Rider, the AGM-190A, officially named Havoc Spear. It is a small cruise missile weighing approximately 200 pounds, launched from the aircraft's rear cargo ramp with a demonstrated range exceeding 400 nautical miles. 400 nautical miles. That means the AC-130 can now strike a target from a distance greater than the range of most surface-to-air missile systems designed to shoot it down. Alongside Havoc Spear, the Ghost Rider is receiving a new brain, the AN/APG-83 Scalable Agile Beam Radar. The same AESA radar technology used in upgraded F-16 fighters gives the aircraft all-weather targeting, synthetic aperture mapping, and the ability to find and track ground targets at ranges that the old sensor suite could never reach. And then there is the detail that surprised even defense analysts. The Air Force has conducted load tests of the AGM-84 Harpoon anti-ship missile on the AC-130J. The Harpoon, an anti-ship missile, on a gunship. This means the AC-130 is being considered not just for close air support over land, but for maritime strike over water. A cargo plane, hunting ships. The concept aligns with the Air Force's Rapid Dragon program, which envisions using cargo aircraft as airborne missile launchers. Palletized munitions rolled out of the back of a transport aircraft, each one a precision-guided weapon capable of striking targets hundreds of miles away. The AC-130J is evolving from a circling gun platform into something closer to an airborne arsenal ship. It still carries the howitzer. It still carries the cannons. But it no longer depends on them exclusively. And it no longer needs to fly directly into the threat to be effective. But there is a question that all of this technology still cannot answer. The United States Air Force has stealth bombers that can penetrate any air defense on Earth without being detected. It has fifth-generation fighters that can engage targets from beyond visual range with missiles that almost never miss. It has drones that can loiter for 30 hours, surveil an entire region, and strike with precision from 50,000 feet. And yet, when American ground forces are in contact with the enemy, when the situation is close, confused, and happening in real time, the aircraft they want overhead is not a stealth bomber. It is not an F-35. It is not a drone. It is a cargo plane with guns. Because the AC-130 does something no other aircraft can do, it stays, it watches, it communicates directly with the troops below, and it delivers firepower with a precision and persistence that no fast-moving jet or high-altitude drone can replicate. That is why, 60 years after a group of Air Force engineers bolted guns to the side of a cargo plane, the idea has not only survived, it has expanded. From hunting trucks on the Ho Chi Minh Trail to launching cruise missiles at targets 400 miles away. From a 30-kilowatt cannon to a howitzer, a Bushmaster, Griffin missiles, small-diameter bombs, Hellfires, and now, potentially harpoons. The platform has changed. The sensors have changed. The weapons have changed. But the core idea has not. Fly low, fly slow, stay on station, and do not leave until the people below you are safe. The AC-130 has survived for 60 years, not because it evolved into something entirely new. It survived because it refused to stop being what it always was, the aircraft that stays when everything else leaves. 14 crew members aboard Spirit 03 made a decision in the dark over Khafji. They stayed. They stayed because Marines below them were in contact with the enemy and needed fire support. They stayed past the safe window, past dawn, into daylight, where every advantage the AC-130 has disappears. They paid for that decision with their lives. The AC-130 is not the most advanced aircraft in the United States military. It is not the fastest. It is not the stealthiest. It is not the most survivable. But it is the one that ground forces trust with their lives. And 60 years of combat have proven that trust is earned. If you think that story matters, consider subscribing. We cover the weapons and the people behind them. Not just what they do, but why they exist and what it costs to use them. Drop a comment and tell us, which detail surprised you most? The 105mm howitzer inside an airplane? The cruise missile with 400-mile range launched from a cargo ramp? Or the fact that Spirit 03 stayed over Khafji, knowing it would not survive the sunrise? And a question for our next video. The AC-130 has always operated where the enemy cannot shoot back effectively. But what happens when it enters airspace where the enemy can? What does the next generation of gunship look like in a world full of advanced air defenses? That story is coming next.